Welcome, everyone, to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is the podcast dedicated to helping you have a successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business. I'm Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. I've been working with accounting professionals now for more than 20 years, helping them get the confidence and the competence to go out and offer the quality accounting services that they need to get paid what they're worth. Here at Universal Accounting Center, we've been providing training, certification, coaching and support to accounting professionals since 1979, giving them the ability to go ahead and start and build their firms with the intent of becoming the premier accounting business in their area. The hope is to actually help you be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. With that in mind, I'm actually very excited to say that our purpose here with the podcast is really to help you as an accounting professional become confident and competent with the quality of services that you're intending to offer so that you can get paid what you're worth. I encourage you to listen to the other episodes that we have and subscribe to our channel so that you can get the most from this experience. Today we have Michael Palmer, and we're excited to have him on the show. He's someone I've known for years, and you're going to get to know him as I do, as a very nice, down-to-earth, family-friendly man. So Michael's actually the CEO of Pure Bookkeeping, the host of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast, and he is the acclaimed business coach who has actually helped hundreds of bookkeepers across the world push through their fears and exponentially grow their businesses and achieve the quality of life they've always wanted. So Michael, welcome, and thanks for being on the show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
This is going to be fun. I've actually had the honor of being on your show a few times, so this is a nice way of turning around and having you on this one.
Well, I appreciate it, Roger, and our audience and listeners love you. So it's great for me to come back and be the one on the other side of the mic, I guess, in a way.
There you go. Exactly. So one of the things I wanted to start with today is just a little bit of a backstory. I know that you weren't first involved in accounting. You were perhaps, we say, a business coach. Tell everybody, what was that journey from that into the world of accounting, bringing you to pure bookkeeping?
You know, Roger, it all started, I think, at the foundational thing is a love for business. I don't know why, but as a young person, I always loved the concept of business, and everyone in my family was involved in a small business in some way. You know, they had started small businesses, and that's I think if everybody looked at it, they probably see the same very similar things. Many of our family members are in small businesses. Small businesses make up the fabric of our society in North America. And so I love business. I love the concepts of it. And I was always following it, studied it in school, and went on to start some small businesses myself. And eventually through all of that ended up in the corporate world for about a decade. And while I was there, I was introduced to coaching. I was fortunate to go into a program where there was a coaching component to it, and got coached personally by this coach. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. And what I realized through that process is that I, as at the time, a manager, what I loved about being a manager in the corporate world was actually more being a coach, helping somebody understand what they were passionate about, what their strengths were, and how they could get more fulfillment and enjoyment out of their work. And what often happened is I would actually coach them out of the organization that they were working in because they were unhappy people and they wanted to go and live out and fulfill on whatever their passions were. And, you know, sometimes in the corporate world, people look at that and go, well, that's no good, Michael, you're not doing your job. And I really actually believed that I was doing the job because if people are not happy and fulfilled in a specific area of their life, it's no good for anybody. And so what would happen is that you'd then replace those people with people that were really happy and fulfilled and wanting to do the things that were going on over there. Well, all of that then turned into me exploring this whole world of coaching. I went and studied it. I got certified as a coach, and then decided that there was a time for a big life change. And my wife was going to do some schooling down in Australia. And I was like, this is a perfect opportunity. I left the corporate world. I started a coaching practice in Canada, and then I started coaching people actually all over the world because I moved to Australia and lived kind of on the road for about 2 years, lived and traveled here and there and everywhere, coaching people, coaching business owners. And through a connection, a woman told me about this fellow by the name of Peter Cook, who had just launched a company called Pure Bookkeeping, and said he was looking for other coaches to collaborate with and help grow this business. Well, I went and had coffee with him. And Australians, if you've ever met an Australian, I know you have, they're just the friendliest people on the planet. Really fun, and we had a great conversation. And he told me the story of Debbie Roberts, which started with, she had read this book called EMyth. Now, listeners may or may not know EMyth, but EMyth stands for the entrepreneurial myth. And it's why most businesses, the tagline for it is why most businesses don't work and what you can do about it. Well, I had read that book several years prior and actually implemented the EMyth work in a small business that I owned. It was a bistro, a family bistro, and we got my mom reading it. And actually, she was listening to it. I bought her the CDs, and she listened to it in the cafe. And we implemented all of these systems and processes into the cafe. And literally, we made her life so much easier, and the business scaled and grew because of Michael Gerber's work in that book. So I loved it. I recommended it to every single business owner that I coached. And so I got it right away, this whole concept of EMyth.
Yeah.
And so what happened with Debbie, with Peter, is Peter had a client by the name of Debbie Roberts. She was a bookkeeper, and she was a bookkeeper for 20 years, had never been in business for herself. Her chiropractor kept nagging her, like, Debbie, go and start a business. You'll have more freedom, you make more money, you have a better life. And it took him about 2 years to convince her to start her own bookkeeping business. And she really dipped her toe into it. She organized with her current employer that she would start a bit of a part-time and retain the job as like one of her clients. Well, right away, she was such a great bookkeeper that clients were beating down her door, wanting to work with her. She became very, very busy. She replaced her part-time income, and within 18 months, she was overwhelmed. And she was overwhelmed because she was doing a lot of the work that she was doing. She was coming at it as a bookkeeper, as a technician. And being a technician and doing the work as a bookkeeper and actually running a small business are two different things. And so there was conflicts. And so she was having trouble hiring staff to work with her. She wasn't charging enough. She was working a lot. She was giving away a lot. She didn't really value the work that she was doing as much as she should have been in order to get paid what she was worth. So a lot of problems. She's having a lot of problems and actually ready to quit the business and just go back to the simplicity of being the technician. And that would have been fine for Debbie. Well, one of the things she had done as a business owner was join BNI, Business Networking International in Australia, and as many small businesses do, there was a bookkeeping coach, and this is where Peter Cook came into the story, and he had done a presentation on loving your business. And he's talking, because that was what his business was called, Love Your Business, as a business coach. And so she's listening to this, and she's like, I don't love my business. I need to talk to that guy. And so they set up the BNI coffee meeting, and Peter asked her a couple of questions and listened to her story. And essentially, he said there are two issues. If you everything that you're trying to do is up in your head, and for you to actually have staff and have a business that can scale and actually feel comfortable about it, in terms of knowing that the clients she's working with are getting the same level of service and quality work, is you have to get all of that out of your head and documented so that you can essentially clone yourself with staff. And that was when he introduced her to the EMyth work. He said, read Michael Gerber's book, EMyth. She tore it apart. She read it several times, and she went to work on building systems and process into her business for every single thing that she did. Well, from there, 6 years later, she built a bookkeeping business with 12 staff. She charged some of the highest rates in her marketplace, and she exited her business in terms of she would come and only do executive type work about 1 day a week while the rest of the team did the work. So she had built this business based on the philosophies of EMyth through the coaching of Peter Cook over 6 years. And then that's when I met Debbie and Peter. Peter told me this story. They had launched a business called Pure Bookkeeping where they took everything that Debbie had built, all the systems, the process, the learnings, the mistakes, and how they built this successful 12-person business and documented all of that and then made it generic enough that other bookkeepers could take that and implement it into their business. Well, that was 10 years ago. And so now I'm the CEO of Pure Bookkeeping North America, and we're doing the same thing in Canada, in the United States. Now it took a bit of time to bring all of that and go over the last 10 years, but what we're seeing is that, and why I love what I do so much is it really comes back to my love of business and helping small business owners. And I absolutely love, I mean, I've worked with so many different people in the business ecosystem, right? For working in the corporate world, working with all different people inside business. And I think bookkeepers, because we serve bookkeeping business owners, I think bookkeepers is some of the best people in the business ecosystem. And unfortunately, they're some of the most undervalued people in the industry, in the business ecosystem, and they produce some of the most valuable work, an essential work for small business. So helping bookkeepers I've been able to help so many small business owners awaken to how great life can be when they have a great bookkeeper working with them. And so my job is partly making sure that bookkeepers step up, understand that, hey, you are valuable, you can be a leader inside of these small businesses, and you do have the tools, you do have the abilities to make that business owner a lot more successful. And so you know, if you don't know that yourself and you don't bring that out into the world and you don't stand for that, well, then you're an invisible leader. And being an invisible leader is not going to be as effective as you can be. So when they do that, small business improves, and people can have a better go of it, because there are just too many businesses that struggle away, and there's casualties. I grew up
So I'm
grew
going to
up
jump
in
in
a
here. I want to interrupt you. So you actually kind of shared your story as to how you got into the accounting. So you went from Canada to Australia. You run into Peter. You meet Debbie. They're actually implementing this program with Pure Bookkeeping to where they can actually now afford and help accounting firms implement these same processes and procedures to really grow their own practices, their own businesses. And being that you had that coaching background, you were able to then embrace the accounting profession and help them go through this evolution of adopting these processes, these systems into their business. And as business owners, you're coaching them through that evolution that they're going to experience, that growth that they're going to be challenged with. So I'm going to ask you this question. What's a common misunderstanding bookkeepers have with the systems and the processes that they're implementing? What do they misunderstand about what that's going to achieve or help them do?
Well, I think there's a couple of misunderstandings, and first of all, systems. The word system is very confusing. I mean, what is a system? Is it a computer system? Is it it often people go to software, right? It's like anytime you hear system, you think of software, and it's not software. It's documented standard operating procedures. And so understanding that, the fact that many don't even know what that is part of the bigger problem, is that it's not natural for a small business owner to have any of this stuff documented because of the amount of time and energy that it takes to build it.
Yeah.
And so, that's a challenge, not knowing that it exists, not knowing, just like Debbie, when she started her business, right? She didn't have any systems or process or anything. She did what she knew to do. And that'll get you so far, but it becomes very inefficient. You can only scale so high, and the quality of work that you do gets limited because you're maybe doing it one way or another way, and the next time. And
So let me ask you this then. What do you think causes people to fail even when they have the processes and systems. For example, if somebody gets involved with pure bookkeeping and they're implementing the processes, what do you think is some of the things that cause the struggle or the difficulty in implementing and actually moving into the systems and processes that will help them become successful?
It comes back to I mean, talking about anyone who's failed at anything. I mean, I think it all comes back to a person's own limiting self-belief about themselves, right? Because first of all, if you're in business and you have a certain belief about what's possible, how things can be, it's fixed, right? And so if you allow that perception to be fixed, then nothing can ever change. And so everything that we're doing in a small business is from the owner, and the owner has to have a shift. And whatever you have today, there has to be a shift in the way you see the world in order for the world to change. So, I mean, there's a famous quote. I know Gandhi said it, but you change your perception, you change the world, and that's
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
people often brush these sayings off, but it's true. It's so true. It's like if you see the world a certain way, the world can't change unless you change the way you see it. So
Yeah.
you can build systems and process, but if you have a fixed view, that's going to hold you back. And when I see people struggling when they're implementing anything, it's because of habits and behaviors from the past that need to be changed as well. Doing things differently, setting up times to work in the system, to implement, to work on your business. It takes a sacrifice. There is no easy way to build a successful business. It's going to take some form of friction, whether it's sacrificing some part of your life somewhere in time. It might mean spending less time doing the things that you might like doing, or it might put pressure on the way life is with family. But something has to give, something has to change, and so there's only so many hours in the day, and that's where I see it, is like people get stuck at the grinding wheel doing the same thing day in day out. You can't just think that in a few days or weeks of just doing things a little bit differently, that it'll produce a massive change. It needs to be a little bit every week and continue to do that again and again and again and again until all of a sudden you look back and you go, wow, I can't believe what I've created.
So there's two things that I've noticed that have identified failure as I've seen it in people that have been going down this route. And it's, first of all, they spend the money, but they don't spend the time implementing the program. So one of the things that I find that's very disheartening is people will think that although they've spent the money, now it's just miraculously going to be implemented within the business. It's miraculously going to be understood and followed, when in reality, just paying for the program, getting the program, understanding the program is, I think, just, it's not even the first step. It's just a step. The second thing that I've found is the systems, the processes, as great as they are, if they're not used and followed continually, you won't see the benefit of them. So, in other words, you can have processes and systems in the company that the organization says are in place and say are there to be used, but when people start to find excuses as to why not follow them, why not do them, why not hold to them and be accountable for them, then the systems don't accomplish what they're there to achieve, which is continuity of work and, more importantly, getting things done more efficiently and quickly. And that's the failings. Those two things have time and time again been the problem. People will say, I've subscribed to, I've bought into, I believe in, I read EMyth and I'm going to do it. So mentally they're there, they're ready to pull the trigger. They've spent the time with the learning of the material, or they spent the money to get the book or whatever, and then they just fail to pull the darn trigger. And then the other part is the accountability. They just don't follow through and actually do it. So here's a question for you. What advice would you give to someone that would help them succeed? What's that secret sauce that helps them with these processes and procedures to ensure their success?
It comes back to the why they're doing it, and have that big enough such that it will push them through to do the work, the hard work that they need to do to get to the other side, to get the results. And that there's just, it's not easy to change. It's and you nailed it right on the head, Roger. Is that anybody in it doing anything without doing the work, you can't expect results.
Yeah.
And we see it all the time as human beings everywhere, right? Health, well-being, money, success, wealth, whatever you're talking about. If people aren't doing the work, there's no results.
Yeah.
So when you have a big why, when you've really gotten clear about what you want to build, why you want to build it, what's that going to produce for your life, what great things will you have in your life as a result of doing these things, that's what gives you the motivation to wake up every day and do the work and make the change and get through and figure things out, to get to the end. And I'd say that's the biggest one that many people don't spend enough time on, is figuring out that vision for the future and really getting excited about the value that they're going to get out of having a future like that.
So the thing that I would equate that with is passion. Running a business, offering accounting services can be very challenging. Whether you're marketing the services and trying to get new clients, whether it's doing the work and getting it done profitably so that it's efficiently done and it was worth your time. But more importantly, it's the interactions with the clients, giving them quality information that they can use to make more informed business decisions, and seeing your customers thrive with that information you're giving them because you're now relevant in their business. Well, when you have your why and you're passionate, it's going to help you get through some of those discouraging times, those trying times, those difficult times that we all face. And earlier, you were talking about mindset. One of the things that I think Gerber addresses very well in the book EMyth is he talks about the technician, in this case, the accountant, bookkeeper, tax preparer, the technician having an entrepreneurial seizure. And they all of a sudden believe that because they're good at the work they do, they can be a great business person. And I think you said it best. And the way we describe it is we use this term called becoming an accountrepreneur. You've got to be great at what you do in the accounting, but you've got to be in that entrepreneurial mindset so that you can actually then address all the business needs that need to happen. The best way to describe it is you can be a phenomenal bookkeeper, an excellent CPA, a great tax preparer, but unless you have clients, who cares? Somebody's got to be paying you for your service. And if at the end of the day you can't get paying customers, what does it matter? So it's that all-encompassing thing of, can you market your services? Can you do them efficiently and effectively? And can you provide this information to them, to your clients, in a way that's useful? So that's, I think, a great summary. So, Michael, before I continue, I just want to do a quick thing for our sponsors. This is obviously sponsored by Universal Accounting Center, along with Pure Bookkeeping. We have basically two offers here that we're going to be providing. The first of which is I encourage you to go participate, sign up for, and subscribe to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. Some information for that will actually be in the description of this episode, so you can link to and actually find that podcast and take advantage of these various sessions that Michael has. Also, with regards to this, we also have another special from Pure Bookkeeping, which is the 7 Secrets Value Pack. We're going to provide some information for you as to what you can get to have access to these 7 secrets to actually help you in your business. Related to that, we actually have a book called In the Black. In the Black are the 9 principles to make your business profitable so that you can actually work on your business rather than just in it, as Michael has described, so that you can, in fact, have the company you've always desired and wanted. So with that in mind, one of the questions I would like to ask you now, Michael, is do you have a mantra or maybe a quote, something that you use in business to kind of keep you grounded and focused?
Yeah, and it relates back to what you said just earlier here about passion, right? Is my my father was an electrician, and he was a master electrician. He went to school, he loved learning, and he had so many different people think of electricians wiring houses. Well, he was a master electrician, which means he could work on the wiring of an airplane, he could work on the wiring of an electrical dam, a nuclear plant. I mean, it went as far as he could possibly go with the knowledge of the technical aspects of electricity and everything that goes along with that. Well, he started a business, and he was fantastic at it. And he would do art inside the walls of these homes and buildings that he would build, and it was fantastic. But nobody really valued that. What they valued was different than the technical abilities that he had. And so running a business was very different than being a masterful technician. And it's where I really saw the impacts before I even knew of EMyth, was as a child seeing the struggles and the frustration and the fighting between my father and my mother, and the discord that would happen in our family because of financial difficulty. Running a business can be difficult. And so it just sort of was the way I saw the world, right? Later, actually after my dad passed away, and this is a couple of years actually into working with bookkeepers, I asked my mom about my dad and his business. And she said, he just wasn't good with financial stuff, with the paperwork, with all of that work that needs to get done in a business. And it just dawned on me. I mean, there's so many small business owners that are like my dad, and his solution was, well, gee, I'll get my wife to do it. So he would try to get my mom to like manage all of this work, and that's not her thing. Just, oh, Linda, you could do something like this, right? Like manage all these receipts. Well, again, he's trying to push it off to somebody who did not have the desire or the skill set to even do anything about it. And so he was one of these small business owners that would take his box of receipts to the accountant, 2 or 3 months after the year was finished, and get the autopsy on his situation. Well, with proper guidance of a bookkeeper, I believe that my dad would have been able to grow and build his business to whatever level that he wanted to. He was missing that shepherd of his finances, a shepherd that could guide him and help him and give him advice to help him better in his business. And so my mantra is always, when I'm thinking about helping bookkeepers, when I wake up every day, what I'm doing is I'm helping small business owners have a better time at dinner, right? They're sitting with their family. Yeah, it's not easy. I don't think running business you could ever say, oh, this is just an easy breezy, but there's challenges. But when you remove a lot of those challenges and you have understanding and you know what your financial situation is, life is much better, it's much calmer, and the families that depend on the people that are running these businesses get more of their family members at dinner. So that's the passion. That's what I'm up to. I want to make a dent in the small business world. I want to make a dent in my communities, and I want to help bookkeepers do the same. And they're small business owners as well that go back home to their families and at dinner. So, that's what lights me up. And I am a small business owner. I serve small business owners. I know so many small business owners. And it's what makes our countries great, because we have the freedoms to be able to go out and build whatever it is we want to build in this world, and do it safely in most situations anyways. And the more we do it, the better they'll be. So that's my mantra. That's what gets me fired up
I
and
love it.
keeps
I
me
love it.
going.
So here's a question for you. You work from home oftentimes, and many of the people that we work with do actually start their businesses oftentimes working from home. What advice would you give to someone who happens to work from home?
I've been working from home. It's a great question. I love working from home. And I remember when I started working from home when I was in the corporate world. And it was like this being let off the leash, right? Going home. And, when there was something difficult to do, then I'd find the distractions of, it's like laundry all of a sudden becomes, hey, I'd really want to do that. Right. So it's like behaviors at home can be impacted. Now, the difference, I think, between a person who has a job going and working from home and a small business owner that has a business that they're running from their home is that you've got to set up an environment that supports the success you want to have. So my office is, I can shut things off like it's an office. I've got it's contained. It feels like an office. It looks like an office inside. And when if I want to, I can shut the door, and that's where business is. It's over there, inside of there. For a few years, I had it up sort of in our living area, and And so there was just no other way to do it. It was part of, and I found that it felt like I was always at work. And I think that many people listening probably have experienced that. So the best you can do, even if you don't have the ability to have a room that's just dedicated to your business, do the best that you can to put up like a barrier or something that separates that from your life, because we are human beings, and it's hard for us to shut off and just compartmentalize things. And so you need, I think, physical ways of being able to say that's over there, because if you're always doing this, you're going to risk burnout.
Yep.
And so whether it's, putting things away or tidying up every couple of days to make it look more like a living space and not an office space. When you're working, it's work, looks like work. When you're not working, it doesn't look like work. That I think helps. And also just um, uh, appreciate and have gratitude for how blessed you are to be working from your home. I mean, we forget, I think, often that it's not perfect. There's distractions, interruptions, perhaps from family. I mean, this is my joke. I have a staff member, Dave, and he comes to my house and works, and we have it set up very, very well. And he sees our life, and it's like some people be very uncomfortable having it be like that, right? It's like he's coming into our world and all that. It's like letting all of that go and just knowing that an interruption with family is a blessing. It's like if Matthew walks in, or my 17-month-old daughter walks in on a conference call where I have 30 people on the call. My face might still go red, but I know there's going to be a day down the track where, yeah, did that look super professional? In my mind, no, but I'm so blessed that I have the ability to actually have my family close by me more often than not,
Mm-hmm.
even though there's sometimes these interruptions and challenges that come along. So it's like gratitude, make it work. And I'm so pumped and proud that I've been able to build a significant business working out of my home and being able to be flexible so that I can support my family, be there for my family for these sorts of things. So I kind of went on a little bit of a rant there, but a few things.
Well, having worked from home myself, I can definitely say I've got a number of suggestions and things of advice that I would also give. But I think you've sufficed it well. Be grateful that you have that opportunity. It is a blessing in many regards. And if you do it right, you can be more productive working from home. But that's only if you do it right. So with that in mind, I've got one last question, and then we're going to wrap this up. So Michael, you're in coaching, you've done coaching. Who's a mentor to you, and why? What did you learn from them that was so impactful?
Uh, the So many mentors. I mean, and there's it kind of ties with one little thought on the office bit too. Being in the office can also be a risk to not being out of the office, right? So I work from home. I don't have a commute. I'm not going out to an office to see other people. It can be very isolating. So making sure that when I do get out, go have coffee, go have lunch, do something, meet customers, whatever, it can be, there's pros and cons, right? So getting out and being with other people is important. And that goes along with mentorship. Being open to getting help from others is the number one key to success. The most successful people are the people that are asking for the most help, that are learning from others. So for me, Peter Cook became a great mentor. Still, his business partner in Pure Bookkeeping. I leverage his guidance and mentorship all the time. I admire him, the way that he works and operates. He's got a great business mind, high level of integrity, and also just a very determined and focused person.
Well,
And then of course my father, right? So it's he taught me to respect my elders, to respect my community, to be a service person, to be committed to my family, and to do whatever it takes, and to work really hard doing it. So those are great mentors, and there's so many others that I'm sure if I thought about it, it's like there's every area of my life. There's great mentors that have helped me get through different challenges that I've faced in my life. Because again, it comes back, we're human beings that are running businesses. Those businesses look a lot like us as human beings. So both the good things and the challenging things about our lives and what goes on in our lives get translated into the business. So it can cause problems. It can create limit growth. All of these things. So we have to keep expanding our life, keep expanding who we are as human beings in order to have our businesses expand and grow and thrive. Because we're the ones that will limit it. So the better you can get out and expand your own life and perspectives, the better off your business will be.
Good, good. Yeah. When I think of mentors, I think the biggest thing that's important is becoming vulnerable, being teachable, so that what you're being exposed to can be embraced by you and then hopefully implemented by you. So the mentor, if you're not teachable, if when the student is ready, the teacher appears kind of philosophy. And so the mentor, they're able to impact obviously those that are vulnerable and teachable, that are humble. And if you're in business, can set aside, I think, that persona of I'm the be all end all, and just step aside for a moment and be teachable and ask the question of what am I missing? What could I do differently? What could I do better? It allows you to then open up to and be mentored by someone. So thank you for those insights. Your father, great one, Peter, obviously. So those are great. What I'm going to do here is as we wrap up, I just want to do a quick recap. But before I do the recap, I again just want to share with you some of the things available to you from our sponsors. We've got Universal Accounting Center with the book In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. Get a copy of that today. Also, the Turnkey Business Plan. Get for you what you need in order to have the premier accounting business in your area. The other that I would also suggest is from Pure Bookkeeping, is participating in the Successful Bookkeeper podcast, as well as the 7 Secrets Value Pack. These things are available to you to actually help you work on your business and make the most in your company. Now, with regards to today's presentation, the discussion here, as a recap, I really appreciated what Michael had to share regarding the leading up to of Pure Bookkeeping, how it came about. I think Debbie's story is fascinating. I think it's something that a lot of bookkeepers can relate to. You're kind of in this position where sometimes working as she was with the chiropractor, you don't really long for or perhaps strive to have your own business, but you find yourself working with clients, having these businesses that you're working with as their bookkeeper, as their accountant. And then all of a sudden that light bulb goes off and I guess I'm in business. And as you have that realization, you realize I need to take this a little bit more seriously and I need to think through, what are my services? How am I being priced? What am I going to be doing for my clients? And you start to then work on your business. And really that transition from being that technician of I'm just busy working and I do these things for clients to I run a business, I need to grow my business, I need to be intentional about what I'm offering is a great lesson. And I appreciate Michael sharing that with us. I also like the idea of the coaching. There's so much to be said about really looking at our lives and seeing what we could do differently and better, and where he was sharing just those that he had learned from both Peter and his father. I think we can all reflect back on those individuals that have been influencers in our lives, whether it be our children that have caused us to change and adapt and learn in ways that we didn't realize possible, our spouses, maybe it's been an excellent employer, a boss that we've had, maybe it's a spiritual mentor that we've experienced. All of these people are basically those that mold us. There's a quote out there that says that we are the product of the 5 or 7 people that we interact with mostly. That's who we are. And so I think you need to just be sensitive to who it is that you're surrounding yourself with. And so with that in mind, just to kind of wrap this up, Michael, are there any final thoughts that you would like to share?
For every listener, I encourage you to just dream big, figure out what it is you want to create in your business, and know that you're serving one of the most critical components of your community, helping small business owners. So get out there, help more of them, help them in a bigger, better way, and life will give back whatever it is you desire.
Well said. Very good. So with that in mind, everyone understand this. There's a number of other episodes that you can take advantage of, and I encourage you to listen to those, as well as to subscribe to this podcast, becoming the premier accounting firm in your area. With that in mind, also realize that additional information is available so that you can apply these principles in your business by simply going to universalaccountingschool.com, as well as calling Universal at 801-265-3777. Just remember this: if it's about accounting, it's universal. Why? Because business success is universal. With that in mind, do take care. Have a great day, and thank you everyone for listening in. Bye-bye.